stories we will share. Tasty bites and highlights together everywhere. Sports Bites, let's unite. Great food and games tonight. Tune in, feel the vibe. It's a winning ride. Fried chicken, slam dunks and spicy fries. Catch the play-by-play man on a plate of good times. Join us for the flavor, join us for the game. Every bite and replay, memories will frame. Sports Bites, let's unite. Great food and games tonight. Tune in, feel the vibe. It's a winning ride. Football and fried chicken, slam dunks and spicy fries. Catch the play-by-play man on a plate of good times. Join us for the flavor, join us for the game. Every bite and replay, memories will frame. Sports Bites, let's unite. Great food and games tonight. Tune in, feel the vibe. It's a winning ride.
Oh, thank you to the Sports Bites band. Hope you guys are having a great Tuesday out there. I'm Chris Joseph. I'm your host of Sports Bites, and it has come to an end this season for me. I started this kind of, my wife urging me to get back into it after I had, kind of got out of the business for a while. But my passion has always been talking sports, talking food, hence the formation of Sports Bites. I'm going to take a little hiatus. When I get done with this show, it's going to be my season finale. I've got a trip coming up to London. I'm taking my wife to London. Look, we're going to go see Taylor Swift. We're going to go to the Manchester United, the opening game of Premier League soccer. So, I love the atmosphere. I can't wait to go. Fish and chips. There's going to be a lot of food content. I like food content. It's going to be a lot of fun. I get back on the 23rd. Then that Saturday is the Florida State Georgia Tech game. Then starting that Monday, I'm going to kind of coincide with the Golden Boot podcast. Shout out to the Boot podcast. Hope you guys are doing good. I'm going to go Monday and Friday, kind of a preview and a recap show leading into the Golden Boot. Like I'm going to be on at 7 o'clock, taking you up to 8:30, just like we would. And it's all part of the Dogs TV network. We got you covered. And when I say we got you covered, we have people live, boots on the ground at some of the biggest conferences, media days. We've already had people at Big 12. We've got somebody coming on today. The Sun Belt Syndicate is going to come on. Talk about the Sun Belt Conference. But joining me now, I've got our ACC expert. He's got his Florida State hat on, the lead national columnist for the ACC for the college football dogs, Mr. Dominic Ambrose, live in Charlotte. How you doing, sir?
No, doing good. Still kind of in disbelief that I'm here and able to be here representing us with the college football dogs and hear from every team and the commissioner of the ACC and the players from the ACC about the upcoming season. I didn't think it was possible, but it's getting me more amped for the college football season coming up.
Is this your first media day you've been to?
Yeah.
From experience, I'll let you know, it's the same every year, because I remember when I was covering the Big 12 and I would drive from Norman, Oklahoma down to Dallas. Like I loved it. Like I was driving that Sunday evening, get there because we're going to start doing shows that Monday morning. And then you see the mannequins with the uniforms. Mm-hmm. You see, and me being a football nerd, I love getting like all the media guides. I went through and I got every school's media guide. Wanted to just hang around and kind of see everything going on. But let's just jump right into it. What do you feel? Obviously, there's a lot talking about with Florida State and Clemson possibly leaving. What's the kind of tone of the ACC? The commissioner was speaking today. What'd you get from him?
Well, he was cordial in his press conference for the day, but he took a couple shots at Florida State and Clemson. saying that the conference was bigger than any one school or schools. So he preached that he was very big on compartmentalizing it, because while the legal battle and the legal issues surrounding it need to work themselves out, holding the student athletes and the administrators that are involved in the sport responsible makes no sense. So they're still, at the end of the day, wanting to work with Florida State and Clemson to put the best ACC product forward.
Do you think a lot of this still stems from Florida State going after the ACC?
Yeah. I think being you watch football games and it's always the guy that retaliates that gets a foul. But in this
Right.
case, it's the guy that was first gets the heat for it. And right now, Florida State gets the heat for it.
Now, what teams were today at Media Day?
Today was it was Pitt, Virginia Tech, Cal, Stanford, and Virginia.
Cal and Stanford. What was the kind of mood? I mean, are they, because they're long-standing Pac-12 teams. I mean, their history is ingrained in West Coast football.
Absolutely.
Now they're all the way over here.
Mm-hmm.
What was the kind of vibe you got from Stanford and Cal being in the ACC now?
Excited. They all, the coaches through the players represented by the teams, all expressed excitement for joining the ACC and starting that new chapter, and a sense of thankfulness for the ACC wanting them to become members of the conference. So it was a positive feel.
Well, and Pitt, Virginia Tech, and I used to really like Virginia Tech because Justin Fuente was the coach.
Mm-hmm.
That's a guy that I actually had the chance to play against in high school when he was out in Oklahoma before he became a baseball player and a quarterback at OU. Kind of moved up the ranks real quick. But what'd you gather from Pat Narduzzi? I love Pat Narduzzi. I think he's an underrated coach.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe in a bigger or a better institution, he might have more success. But what'd you get from Pat Narduzzi?
He's a player coach. I got the vibe like you that he was like that likable coach that you want to go suit up and put on a pair of pads for and go tackle someone on the field for,
Right.
He acknowledged the down year that they had, because before last year, he mentioned that they were among the country's leaders in sacks. And then last year they had no sacks. So that was an area of concern for them heading into this year. So they're looking to kind of motivate themselves from last year and erase it and put it in the rearview mirror as quick as they can.
What'd you get from the Hokies? I mean, obviously they've got one of the best entrances in college football. That fan base, obviously, really, really came to the forefront when Beamer was there, Michael Vick. So have you? What's the thought behind Virginia Tech? Are they going to be back to being competitive for an ACC title?
Yeah, I think they are. I mean, you got Kyron Jones there at quarterback, who's he's got that it factor that you look for a quarterback. He's a mobile quarterback, but he's not. You're not afraid that if he takes a hit, he's going to be out for X number of games or the rest of the year. He kind of has that linebacker playing quarterback kind of build.
Right. Other than Florida State, obviously you're a Florida State fan, and that's one of the tough things when you go to Media Day, when you're the fan of a team that's there and still trying to do the job correctly. But other than Florida State, what team are you most excited to talk to the players and coaches?
I'm excited to talk to Clemson. That'll be, I want to say tomorrow or the next day. I think they close out the conference on Thursday.
Got to bring your guts for Dabo.
Yeah. But I'm excited to talk to them. I'm excited. Ironically enough, I'm excited to talk to Miami tomorrow when they come in, because I think they keep recruiting well, and they've got uber talent, top down
Right.
every position. It just hasn't always equated on the field. So I'm excited to hear what they say and talk to them. Duke's interesting because I want to talk to Manny Diaz and see how he feels being back in the ACC and if there's any sort of or how, I guess, resentment with but is there any sort of grudge match kind of feel for when they come to, or when they clash,
Right. Dominic Ambrose, the college football dogs lead national columnist for the ACC. I'm glad you brought up Duke. Dominic is in Charlotte at ACC Media Days. I'm glad you brought up Duke. Obviously, Oklahoma fan, saw Malik Murphy at Texas. How good do you think Malik Murphy can be at Duke in that position?
I think if he gets the job, because I'm drawing a blank on the guy's name, but there's another quarterback in the mix over there.
The
And
guy took over when Leonard got hurt.
Yeah. I mean, I was a fan of Riley Leonard at Duke, to be honest with you. He seemed like a gutsy player that had the football IQ that wasn't going to wow you with big throws, but he was going to get the job done, Malik Murphy, I think, brings that extra playmaking ability with his legs, and you look at the ACC, you've got Thomas Castellanos out of BC, who's mobile and just torched the conference. Yeah. Kyron Jones, another example of someone who can just kill you both ways.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Now, did you get a chance to vote in the polls for the ACC?
Yeah, they gave us they invited us to vote in the preseason all ACC team and to give our best guess as far as order of finish for the teams. So I got
I was surprised I didn't see a preseason poll, because usually there's media preseason poll. I was able to find one for the Big Ten, for the Sun Belt, but it was hard trying to find on the interwebs today, the media list of order of finish. But obviously, you got to be happy. Coach Norvell and the Seminoles seem like a clear number one for everybody.
I think it's going to come down to them and Clemson when all is said and done and the smoke clears. They both have their challenges throughout the year. Florida State has Notre Dame in South Bend, which is always a tough place to play.
That brings back memories.
But at the end of the day, I think Clemson's going to bounce back from their quote unquote off year from last year.
Right.
And it's going to be between them and Florida State,
Speaking on Clemson, do you think Dabo Swinney and his stance, I mean, they brought in nobody from the transfer portal. Do you think this is going to catch up to him and cost them some games, not having talent coming in to replace talent that's going out, just relying on your grassroots recruiting and your development?
I think at some point it will. If they bring in talent and they hit more often than not to where it equates to winning on the football field, he'll buy himself time. But at some point, that trend is going to change and you're going to start missing more than you hit, So at some point, it's going to catch up with him.
It's got to. Who would be your surprise team to watch out for in the ACC? If everyone's if you're getting towards the end of the season and all of a sudden you're holy crap, this team has a chance to play for the ACC title, who would that surprise team be?
I'll give you two, actually. I think SMU is going to be better than people assume, jumping up to the ACC. I mean, they ran roughshod last year and finished well, and they got everybody back, it seems like. Then my other team, I'm kind of torn between Georgia Tech and NC State, to be honest with you. I think Georgia Tech, kind of similar to SMU, they got a lot of returning people back on their team, and they're still in the right mindset. I was speaking with their quarterback yesterday, and he was saying how they're very much player interested, like led on their practices and everything. And one of the things I asked him, because you hear all these things about like player led, but then and familiarity with each other, but it like there's that line where that familiarity becomes complacency,
Right.
you know. And I asked him that, and he was like, "Well, we still stay focused and everything, and try and like if someone's not holding their weight, he mentioned that they pull them aside to say, come on, you got to shape up, you know."
Yeah, Stone's a good quarterback. I mean, they came into Oklahoma last year, played exceptionally well. It's you bring them up, and I was listening to Trent Dilfer today, driving around here in Birmingham. Trent Dilfer today was on, had their press conference, and they brought up SMU, and he mentioned, he goes, "Hey, we watched the film of the SMU Oklahoma game, and to us, SMU looked like the better team out there." And that's why it'll be interesting to see what they can do in the ACC. Obviously, some big teams, different than playing, just one Oklahoma. It's like you're going and you've got a Miami, a Virginia Tech, stuff like that. But question about Florida State. How big of a miss is Jordan Travis going to be this year?
It's hard to replace leaders like Jordan Travis, and he exemplified Florida State on and off the field. He literally fought his way back from the crowds at Bill Campbell Stadium wanting to boo him off the field to being honestly one of the biggest fan favorites I've seen in my lifetime. So I don't think you replace him, or that you can. I think bringing in DJ, he's going to be like, a lot of people want to knock him because he was at Clemson and then went to Oregon State, and he never really like had those wow kind of numbers.
Right.
But I think he's flying under the radar, and it's perfectly fine for Florida State fans and like for him too, because I think he's going to wow a lot of people with honestly his best year of his college career. I mean, even before this year, he's thrown 2,200 or more yards 3 straight years.
Right. And I'll admit, I'm one of those guys. I'm not a big DJ fan because there was a lot of, he's one of those guys, there was a lot of sizzle, but there's no sear right now. I mean, it's he looked bad at times at Clemson, and then Oregon State, obviously a different style. And like I said, I'm not rooting against a kid to fail or anything, but I just haven't seen it enough. And those are some big shoes to fill. And he feels some big shoes coming in at Clemson. Your expectations are very high. And it's not just Jordan Travis. You're losing Jared Verse. You're losing Johnny. I mean, Florida State lost a lot.
Yep.
But that brings me to Mike Norvell. How talented of a coach is Mike Norvell?
Like, the fan for Florida State in me will always keep Bobby at the top of my list as far as favorite coaches, But there's not much of a gap between Bowden and Coach Norvell, as he's down to earth. He's relatable. I think back to like when I going to like the Senior Bowl and talking to like Jermaine Johnson and Jamie Robinson and all these FSU players that have come through, and all of them have said that the reason they went to FSU was Norvell. Yeah. He cares about the player. He cares about the player as an athlete and as a person, and wants to make him better.
Well, and you saw that 2 years ago when Florida State played Oklahoma in the Cheez-It Bowl. And after that game, and for everybody to come back, for the whole team, and I can't remember the guy, the lineman that blew his knee out towards the end of the game, but everybody's on the field. There's Norvell. I mean, the unity that they had. That's why going into last year, like when the year started, I had them in the playoffs. They were one of my teams. Florida State's going to make it, and it's sad that, Jordan Travis got hurt, and, that's how they kind of viewed that. But is it coaching or is it motivation from Norvell, or a mixture of both?
I think it's a mixture of both. I mean, you can't motivate 100% of the time because people will wind up tuning you out.
Agreed.
and they won't buy into your system. And he's got the coaching, he's got the motivation, but he's that relationship builder too. So he's getting to know the players on a personal level and wanting to improve them and make them not only better players, but better men,
Right.
I mean, I actually met him at one of the Senior Bowls that I went to, and I had Florida State gear on, so I went up and introduced myself up to him, and he got all fanboyish too, because he turned around and he was like, well, you got all the FSU gear on. Come on, let's take a selfie.
Yeah.
But that's just him. He's that kind of guy where you want to run through a wall for him. You know what I mean?
What's your top 5 predicted order of finish for the ACC?
Oh, I actually can bring that up when I put it in the ballot for you. So my predicted order of finish, surprisingly, I had Clemson as 1.
Okay.
I had Florida State as 2, NC State as 3, and SMU as 4.
Okay. I know that there's a lot of people had Miami up there, depending on what Mario Cristobal can do. North Carolina State has that huge game at the beginning of the year for them that can kind of set the tone for their season against Tennessee. It's a neutral field site, but it's still in the Carolinas. But you give them a chance to win that game against Tennessee?
Yeah, I do. And sorry, TJ, if you're listening.
He's on a cruise. He just got married. Our buddy TJ. He just got married. He's on a cruise. He ain't paying attention to me.
Congratulations on the marriage.
Exactly.
But sorry that I had to vote against Tennessee on that one. I think they do, just because you have Nico, who did well in their bowl game. But you have, I want to say, Brew McCoy is just coming back from surgery from his ankle because he got hurt. So you're not he'll be cleared to play, but there's cleared to play, and then there's how he was playing before the injury.
Right.
And so there's a couple of question marks I have. How do they replenish that running trio that they had? I know they still have, who is it, Jabari Small still there? Was he the sophomore?
Yeah, I think Squirrel White's still there too.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see how they gel and everything. I just don't know if it's going to be. I don't know enough, or have seen enough about Nico to be on board with Tennessee winning. So I think it'll be a close game, but I think NC State will come out on top.
Here's my thing, and I'm trying to make sure we got Kyle Golick hopefully coming on from Big Ten Media Day. You watch a lot of football. You break it down. Here's my hot take, and I've said it for a while. I think all this talk about the Iowa defense is they're one of the most fraud teams out there. Iowa played 3 ranked opponents last year. 3. When they played them, there was only 3 teams that were ranked. They got beat by a combined 93-0 by those 3 ranked teams. Now, granted, you still got it, but to me, it's one of the biggest, it's just one of the biggest things. I think it's a scam. They're one of those paper tigers. I don't think their defense is all that. Now, again, you still got to go out there and complete the passes. And there's a lot of hype behind Nico. So you're hoping Nico can live up to it. And that's why it's going to be exciting to see with that, that veer and shoot offense, that Josh Heupel loves to run fast pace. So I think we got a question here from Alex. Sorry if you already talked about it, but what are your thoughts on Florida State and Clemson's conference realignment? And what do you think happens in the next 5 years? Alex Blackburn, our man, got a Big 12 media day. Big 12 going through some conference realignment.
Yeah.
Where do you think they are in 5 years?
I'd like to see them have all the legal issues resolved, number one. I think not that the bridge is burned with the ACC, but it's seriously damaged. So I don't know if there's a repair for it. That being said, I know there's talk about FSU going to the Big 12. And how the Big Ten and SEC don't want FSU or Clemson. The conference is saying they don't want it. I think is just like what they have to say because of the legal issues.
Right.
I think at the end of the day, geographically, FSU makes more sense in the SEC. But from a money standpoint and a TV standpoint, bringing brands like FSU and Clemson into the Big Ten makes sense.
Boy, that'd be a loaded conference. Think about Oregon, USC, Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, Florida State. I mean, like Nebraska even still has some cachet being Nebraska, but crazy. Well, Dominic, I always ask because, again, my show is based on sports and food. Mm-hmm. I used to love going to media days always because of the food. What they serve you guys today at ACC Media Day? Alex said they got like cold cuts, so I was a little disappointed in the Big 12 because they usually fed us good.
Like, was talking with some of the people here and the connections I've been making, and we actually have an inside joke going that like the ACC is spending the money on the food rather than on anything else.
So you ate good today?
The past couple of days it's been good. I mean, today they had like flatbread pizza. They had pasta. Okay. They had like baked ziti, eggplant, like an eggplant parmesan kind of thing.
Okay.
They've had like the salads and the fruits and everything like that. So, I mean, they've done it right as far as the food goes.
Well, there you go. That, like I said, that's one of the things, man, I always love talking about. Dominic, tell them how people can follow all your stuff. I mean, you're going to be writing all year for us. Tell them how they can follow you.
I mean, you can follow me, of course, on the Dogs Network, collegefootballdogs.com. You can catch my articles there, guest appearances across the podcast network when feasible and everything like that. But on Twitter, you guys can follow me at Dom Ambrose 10 and just follow me, and I'll keep you guys updated with ACC news,
Well, Dom, like I said, I appreciate it. I know it's an hour ahead of time out there, so it's 10 o'clock, but I appreciate you coming on and, talking a little bit of ACC football because, again, it's the unofficial hit the wrong button. Look at that. It's the unofficial start of college football season for me because I love, I love when you get into it, and Media Days always kind of lets me know it's here. But enjoy your time out there. We'll be looking forward to like some of the audio clips and everything. But Dominic Ambrose, our lead national columnist for the ACC, out in Charlottesville, Charlotte. Virginia fans will be mad about that, but he's out in Charlotte covering the ACC Media Day. We're going to take a time out. When we come back on the other side, we're going to hop to the Sun Belt, Group of 5. There's some strong football teams in the Sun Belt. We're going to talk about that and a lot more here on Sports Bites Podcast. Again, remember, stay positive, everybody, because if you don't, it's just going to bring you down. I'm going to play, let's see, what commercial am I going to play for you guys today? I didn't have it saved, so that's my fault. It's actually derailing right now. But I'm going to do the farmer.
Lalo is my French bulldog. He made my heart bigger when he came in my life. He never really liked his food. He wouldn't eat till like 10 o'clock at night. To me, it was saying, oh, I guess I don't want to starve. He was having skin breakouts, and putting the 2 and 2 together, what you put into your body is what you get out. I know that if I'm eating a bunch of processed food, I'm not going to feel good. So that kind of led me to Farmer's Dog. Immediately, his skin issues went away. I love what they're doing. It's already portioned out. He's eating whole foods. It's amazing.
Icy Breeze is the world's first portable air conditioner and cooler. A premium ice cooler that doubles as an eco-friendly portable air conditioner. This is not a swamp cooler, just blowing air across ice. Over 60 parts and components allow Icy Breeze to achieve what no other product in the world can do. The secret behind the Icy Breeze is an innovative design that circulates chilled ice water through a heat exchanger in the lid, replacing the Freon used in most ACs. Fresh air is drawn from hidden vents in the top of the cooler, pulled across the exchanger, and chilled down to 35 degrees cooler than the outside air. A 3-speed fan control delivers Icy Breeze's dry, cold air up to 25 miles per hour, just like a car AC. And a stay-put flex hose directs the breeze in any direction. Wherever you need it, Icy Breeze helps you beat the heat.
Welcome back, everybody. Chris Joseph, the Sports Bites podcast. Hope you're having a great Tuesday. Again, this is season 1 finale for me. This is episode 60 that I've done this year. I'm going to take a little break. The wife and I are going to London for our anniversary. We're going to go see Taylor Swift at Wembley Stadium. We're going to go to a Manchester United game, the opening day of Premier League soccer. I've already got it booked to where we're going to have some opportunities to have a pint of beer and everything at Old Trafford Stadium, and so we're really looking forward to that. Of course, there's going to be a lot of food content out there. Fish and chips, Scotch eggs, you name it. We're going to be all around Europe. But then when I get back, that's when we're going to kick into full gear, and I'm going to go to a Monday, Friday, 7 o'clock to about 8:30. We'll bump right up to the Golden Boot podcast. I've already talked with George and Cody and those guys, and kind of like you do at a network, we're going to just bump right into it, have like preview and recap time. I'll take a pic with Kelsey if you see him. He won't be there, man. I mean, practice is going on. I think he's done seeing her shows overseas. But I mentioned before the break, the college football dogs is all over the place. We're growing. We're on the move. We're coming off the porch. Just know we have guys all over the place. Every major conference, we have guys at covering. SoCon, we want FCS, we got you. You want Group of 5, we got you. With that being said, I bring in Dominic Crisetto from the Sun Belt Syndicate, who is in – I don't know if I'm more envious of you or Alex, because Alex went to Vegas. I'm not really a huge Vegas guy. I love New Orleans, and you're in New Orleans for Sun Belt Conference Media Days. How you doing, man?
Yes, sir. I'm doing really well. I got a nice little set. They gave me a little New Orleans book here for
there you go.
Showcase, man. So I obviously heard the end of Dominic's thing, so I don't know if you want to start off with the food that we got here today.
All right. Fire it off.
The breakfast wasn't too crazy. It was your kind of typical buffet style stuff.
Sure.
It wasn't bad. It just wasn't anything amazing. But the lunch, you had your typical sandwiches and pastas and the easy stuff. But the big thing that brought it home for me was the chicken and sausage gumbo, and it wasn't hotel, typical hotel style. It was definitely like somebody knew what they were doing when they made that. So it was easily the most talked about item on the menu today, and nobody was disappointed. Let's just say that.
Man, it's there's so many good teams this year in the Sun Belt. And before we get into kind of breaking the teams and the stuff down, does the Sun Belt have a legitimate chance to have that highest ranking Group of 5 team that can crack into the 12-team playoff this year?
Well, in the short version, I would say if any one team in the Sun Belt can go undefeated, yes, I think that's absolutely going to be something that's easy to point at, right? The problem I see with that is, and I covered this in the day one recap here, 12 teams made bowl games last year from this conference. So that's both good and bad, right? 12 teams made it. I think the overall record was 5-7 once those bowl games took place. So you're not looking at the best depth as far as the great teams. You have a bunch of middle of the pack teams, and then you had some good teams right at the top. So I do think, especially here in the East, which we covered here today, you've really got a lot of talent up there with James Madison kind of retooling instead of rebuilding. You've got App State coming back again. And then you've got some teams that are really strong out west. And it looks like Georgia Southern may jump up and surprise. They're getting a lot of votes. They didn't have the best end of their season last year, but they seem to be coming on strong, especially defensively. So maybe a sneaky team to watch out for there in the East.
Got this pulled up here, the Sun Belt Conference. This is the media preseason poll. You see the Eastern Division. App State got 96 points, 12 first-place votes. James Madison, Coastal Carolina, Georgia Southern, Marshall, ODU, Georgia State. Over in the West, friends of the College Football Dogs Network over there at Texas State. And between you guys and the boot having Ishmati and Kugon, I mean, they got to be fans of the College Football Dogs, but they're predicted to finish first. Troy, Louisiana, Arkansas State, South Alabama, Southern Miss, and the Warhawks. Who did you get to see their new helmet today? Did they have that?
I did. I love it. I've always liked their stuff in the first place. And now that they've got more of the metallic look to it, I like it even more.
It looks kind of like Air Force had a helmet like that, like the old A-10, nose turret, but painted like that. I kind of dig that. I like that better than the ULM stuff like that. But
yeah,
I know you're a big fan of App State. Talk to me a little bit about App State this year. What can we look forward to with the Mountaineers?
Yeah. So they have the preseason Sun Belt Offensive Player of the Year on their roster with Joey Aguilar, quarterback out of California. So he's come literally across the country to come play for App State. They found him at a junior college, offered him. His family typically flies all the way across the country to come see almost every single one of his games, I think. I think his mom, I've followed her on Twitter a little bit. I think she comes to like every single one. I'm not sure about the whole family, but they brought him and Caden Robinson, who is a star wide receiver, a former transfer from UCF. And he's actually local to North Carolina, is from Asheville. So that tandem looks to further expand what they did last season. I want people to keep in mind that Joey Aguilar was one of the best quarterbacks in the country as far as statistics are concerned last season. And he wasn't even the starter to start the year. No. So not only does he come in from a junior college and have to experience a new system with wide receivers he doesn't know, with also were vastly considered unknown, not necessarily underrated. It was just complete unknown whether they were going to be good or not going into the season. So he really further developed, and you saw that with how App State finished the season compared to how they started it, with having some close losses. Those were turned into close wins or big wins towards the end of the season. Besides that Troy championship game, they took care of business there. But yeah, I think that's another reason to think that App State can really put it all together. The defense rounded it in form, and Sean Clark this morning talked about how that adjustment last year was to put more players in the right spots, not necessarily to stay within the system, put guys in the right spots for where they fit. And that involved getting a lot more speed on the field defensively as well. And that really worked out for them.
That Eastern Division is pretty tough. Now, James Madison, I'm going to be interested to follow James Madison moving forward with their athletic director retiring after over 20 years of service there, turning that into an exceptional athletic department. I mean, you can go back to softball, Odyssey Alexander, when they beat Oklahoma in the College World Series, the basketball team, they knock off Michigan State. I mean, everything they've done, and now he's stepping down. I think he's going to like president of the university, but no longer the athletic director. And it'll be interesting to see if there's any dip in, I guess, the production of that athletic department, because they've been really good. But obviously, Coastal Carolina, everybody loves Coastal Carolina, but now you're having to replace a quarterback that's been there forever.
Yeah. So we tried to field that question today, and I will be honest, I'm pretty sure Coach Tim Beck, who was the former offensive coordinator at NC State before he took the head coaching job here, I think Coastal had a really easy in, by the way, because his daughter played volleyball down there at Coastal. So that was an easy adjustment. He was very familiar with campus. But yeah, I'm pretty sure he tipped his hat at who his starter is going to be today. When I questioned about that, thanks to Brandon Biscobian, who works with us at College Football Dogs, for throwing me that question specifically, talking about how Ethan Vasco has evolved as a quarterback and what it looks like coming in, and how he's in kind of a similar mold as Grayson McCall, whereas as a youngster, they relied more on their feet than their arm. Where's that accuracy coming from? Is it coming along really well? He went into like a 2-minute spiel solely on Ethan Vasco and going through his superlatives before he ever mentioned another quarterback. So to me, that kind of sold me on the fact, this guy is selling me on the fact he's explaining to me why this guy is going to be the starter. He's not saying that, but he's doing it, right? So I would expect Ethan Vasco, which we saw him come in. He mentioned this in the conference today, that he came in, he was just a winner. 3-1, had 7 touchdowns, so only 1 interception. So even though he did a lot more with his feet than he did with his arm, I expect him to get better and better. And the Coastal fans are really excited about him. They do also have Noah Kim, a transfer from Michigan State. So they've got some depth, even if they have some issues. And so they got some options. But I think Ethan Vasco is going to be the guy going into the season so far.
I will say I got a little sentimental side for Marshall. My mom's whole side of the family is from West Virginia. I had a cousin that played for Marshall back in the late 90s, and, you know, Chad Pennington, Byron Leftwich, like you go around, I mean, just some really good teams. I'd love to see them kind of get back up to where they were competitive on a national level again. But the West Division, let's talk about Texas State, man. Everyone talked about with the new college football game, everyone's like, what team can I build, a dynasty from if they're a smaller school? And because of guys like Ishmati and I mean, the offense that they run, kind of a cool color scheme, the gold and maroon, where's it? San Marcos? Is that where they're
Yes.
from? San Marcos, Texas?
Yep.
Kind of a cool stadium. But talk about Texas State and what they're bringing to the table.
Yeah, well, I do want to mention one more thing. You talked about Marshall and Chad Pennington. His son is actually competing for the starting quarterback job at Marshall now, Cole Pennington. So that was one that's undecided as well. So we don't know who the starter is going to be there. Pennington did come in and get some reps last season towards the end. Not the greatest, but he was a young guy. So let's see if he can further evolve and maybe win the starting spot there. But yeah,
he wasn't like Gundy with his hand shaking, was he?
No, he wasn't. He wasn't quite like that. But Marshall had some struggles towards the end of the season as a team, not just at the quarterback position. So hopefully everything there can round back into form. They had the only team in the whole conference actually who brought an offensive and defensive lineman to this thing. So no standout offensive or defensive weapons in the sense that you don't have the pretty boys up there. You got the big uglies, as my dad likes to call them. But yeah, the Texas State factor, absolutely. And people are talking about a rebuild. In as great as they are going into this season, as great as the expectations are, you still have to remember this is just an 8-5 team from last year. So as good as they were offensively and as explosive as they were, they have to step up the defense to match. They believe they have. So that's where all this confidence and expectation is coming from. But we'll see how it rounds into form. They've got a little bit of a schedule that favors them pretty well at the beginning. Arizona State's really their big power team. And I don't know if you'd agree with me on this, but I don't really think Arizona State scares many people. And so with an offense like Texas State has and the weapons they've got on offense, Ishmati being obviously the biggest, but they've got a very deep running back room altogether. Some underrated wide receivers, Joey Hobart out there doing really well last year and really coming onto the scene. And obviously, they've got the transfer from James Madison, who won the Offensive Player of the Year last year, now at their quarterback position with Jordan McLeod. So, yeah, they're looking just fine on offense. The big question mark for them is can they consistently stop people on defense? And I think they're going to get better for sure. It's just, does it hold up to a Sun Belt slate? Lucky for them, they've got what most people consider the easier division there in the West.
Talk about how big it was, not only for Texas State, but for a group of five school, because we all know in today's college football world with NIL, and if you have a good year, you're going to be gone. You're going to leave a group of five. How big was it, not only for Texas State, but for the Sun Belt Conference to keep an All-American like Ishmati in conference?
Yeah, there's actually a number of questions on that on the east side even today, with Jason Henderson being the highest rated Sunbelt player in the new video game, is a 91 overall. There was Caden Robinson and Joey Aguilar from App State, apparently both fielded offers from other programs as well. So I think what we're seeing, and goes with Texas State as well with keeping Ishmati, is they feel like there's something more here. It's not just about the money, but let me be clear. Part of keeping those guys was probably throwing them some extra cash. I won't hide that. I do think that these schools stepped up and said, hey, we can't pay that, but what we can do is give you more. And you're still comfortable. You're still the brand name here. We want to become the brand name with you type of thing. And I think that's what was talked about a lot today was culture, what the feeling like a family. So I think those are the things, because Ish moved up with head coach DJ Kenny already. So I think there's a trust factor there. And I think that's what's holding some of these better players. It's interesting to hear because at the bigger power teams, we're not really hearing that, I don't think. But
Right.
in this group of 5 area, we are hearing that. And it was really surprising maybe for me to hear that because it didn't seem like these kids were mailing in those answers. They really felt what they were saying in that moment today.
Was there a lot of talk about the new college football game and the fact that now these young men are in the game? You can see it's not just a creative player. Like Ishmael can go in there and play Texas State and see his character in there.
Oh, yeah. Probably one of the better things that I heard all day was Tajee Hudson, a wide receiver for James Madison, said that he enjoys playing the game quite a bit. But it's funny when somebody uses James Madison against him and he starts having a big game. He's like, I'm doing great, but I'm not doing great, you know? So
Right.
that was one of the
Right.
funnier moments. But I think just about every time it was brought up, the guys, the coaches are all kind of looking at each other, smiling immediately or having a little chuckle because they've either heard a story or they've had experiences that they just love about this game. It's seems silly maybe from an aspect of these guys do it for real, but they're
Right.
enjoying it outside of the game. And so one of the players actually talked about that. I can't remember exactly who it was off the top of my head, but he talked about it. He's like, you're getting away from the game, but you're also still attached. So it's a really cool aspect. Guys are just, I think it was Tim Beck who was saying that they got like 20 plus guys in some of these rooms playing these games
Oh,
against
yeah.
each other. And that's just cool to hear,
Yeah.
man. I never had that many guys hanging around, but we've had 4, 5, 6 guys in my young age that were all playing games against each other on the consoles, and it was always a blast. So to kind of see that come back, because again, one of the coaches are alluding to, a lot of times you see these guys playing games, it's a headset in a screen somewhere by themselves.
Yeah.
And this game is seemingly changing that. So that's a really cool aspect that probably people didn't think of before, experiencing this actually happening.
I was talking with somebody about it the other day, and we came up with something. I want to ask you. So, international soccer, it grew popular because so many people in the United States were playing the FIFA video game. With the release of this new game, do you think it could help bring in a new generation of college football fans?
I have zero doubts that it will do exactly that. I've been a part of this Sunbelt Syndicate and now College Football Dogs, and I've seen people come around that are from literally other countries and say, I don't really know that much about the sport, but I like Texas State, or I like App State, or I like Coastal Carolina. There's no affiliation other than, guess what? They played a video game and they used them in the video game. So I don't have any I only have good thoughts to that. Yes. And hopefully it can bring, and maybe you're thinking this way too, it can bring those youth movements in other countries.
Sure.
Where this would be vastly down the line as these things continue to expand, but you've got like a football in the Olympics, right? When we're about to have that starting Friday.
I don't know. We may not want that after the way the USA just got beat by Austria and Japan the other like a couple of weeks ago. So
yeah.
Didn't App State have a guy back when the game was out before, the quarterback? Didn't he say I chose App State because I played with him on the game?
It's possible. Was that
Kermani?
Chase Bryce who may have said that?
Was his name Kermani?
Oh, Armani Edwards?
Armani Edwards said he chose App State because he loved their uniforms when he played on college football.
Okay. I'm for it. I did not know that. But yeah, I love it. I thought he chose it because they wanted to put him at quarterback and everybody else wanted to put him at a defensive back or maybe a wide receiver, which he ended up playing in NFL anyway. So.
Zangief says, I would proffer that interest in soccer in the U.S. began to surge after Brandy Chastain and company brought the U.S. women's national team to the forefront. Possibly because they were successful, and the United States soccer team has had its struggles, obviously. But again, just, it got to the point to where people, and of course, soccer got put on TV. And if somebody's playing with Chelsea on the game, all of a sudden they see Chelsea on TV and they're like, man, that's a team I play with on FIFA. I'm going to start watching. And so I think they've really built a big fan base from the video game. And so I'm hoping to see that younger generation get into it. And whether it's because you like the uniforms, you like the in-game surrounding, whatever you see from but I think this game is going to help kind of bring that out.
Oh yeah. 100% agree with that. I mean, speaking of the soccer aspect, I was just watching Celtic and Man City play in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, before I came on and jumped on with you. So the game of soccer is alive and well across the world. Hopefully, football in general and specifically college can also get closer to that realm. I'm not sure it'll ever overtake soccer because of how simplistic soccer can be compared to football with the field goal post and all the other stuff, equipment. But yeah, I mean, I think it's gaining a lot more traction. I think people are falling back in love with aspects they thought maybe were gone with this NIL and corporate interaction that had become college football. It's obviously still there. It's probably more prevalent than ever, but little things like this kind of make you forget about some of the bad stuff, I think.
Was there any talk about NIL in a group of five? Obviously, like Texas, San Marcos, you got some oil money, you got some stuff out there that can still help benefit. Was there much talk about NIL and what, these group of five schools can do? I mean, obviously they're not going to compete with the Georgias and the Ohio States and the Oregons.
Yeah, that was actually a pretty interesting point. And I might bring that up to somebody, possibly GJ Kenny, because he's got the money rolling in on other aspects. They just had the biggest ever donation for the stadium rights down there at Texas State. So they've just grabbed a large chunk of change. They seem to come out with new partnerships, I think a couple times within the last few weeks here that they're doing across the line. Now, that's not specific to players, obviously, but there have been some players. Marty's got Hangry Joe's as a chicken place down there in San Marcos. It's got like that hot chicken. So he's pushing that. So yeah, nothing specific on that realm today, actually, come to think of it. But it certainly will be a topic tomorrow. Whether I bring it up or somebody else, I'm sure somebody will say something along those lines. So yeah, it will be interesting because you're right. It's a different playing field when it comes to how much these kids can be offered at this level compared to some of the power programs that just have more corporate sponsors that are ready, willing, and able to give it out.
Dominic Cressetto from the Sunbelt Syndicate joining me live from New Orleans, the host of Sunbelt Conference Media Days. Again, there's 160 people in here now, so I want to say thank you. Be sure, guys, hit the like button. Go to YouTube, wherever you're following, subscribe, follow. We got more content coming. You mentioned Man City. I was trying to find tickets to see a Premier League game. Chelsea's playing Man City to start the season, but they were only like $800 a pop.
Oh,
but I found through sleuthing through the interwebs, not the dark web, but I found a site that was connected to Manchester United. The opening game of Premier League is Manchester United hosting Fulham at Old Trafford.
Oh.
Me and my wife have tickets, and we are going to be at Manchester United versus Fulham for the start of the Premier League. Like, they play that Friday night. That's the first game of the upcoming season. So I'm pumped. Plus, also, the tickets I got get us access to the sports bar in the stadium 3 hours prior to the match.
Wow.
We get a free snack, a free hot meal, a pint, and then during halftime we get complimentary tea and coffee. And so there's going to be so much content from over there because of doing what we do. I've had the chance to go to games. I've been to bowl games. I've been to the Fiesta Bowl. I've been to the Cotton Bowl. I've seen OU Texas. I've seen big games like that. I've never been to a game like this. And so it's going to be interesting to see the difference. Obviously, I don't know any of the chants. They come up with a chant for everybody over there, but I'm extremely excited about it. But back to the Sun Belt Conference football, because we're not far from the start of the football season. Who is your surprise teams to watch out for in each division?
Yeah, I don't know if I felt as strongly going into today about Georgia Southern as I do now. The way Clay Helton spoke, the way that his players looked up there on the podium, like they meant business, and they really do truly have high expectations for what they have. An interesting aspect to why I'm feeling probably a little bit better about them being more of a surprise team is we've kind of known what to expect over the past 2 seasons with Georgia Southern. They've went out and got a gunslinger at the quarterback position, willing and able to throw it anywhere on the field, but it led to a lot of interceptions. And it seems like they might be transitioning more to that Coastal, that App State type of run pass more equally, I guess you could say. So that may lead them to be a little bit more successful, have a little less turnovers on the offensive side of the ball, and be a little more consistent, which is what they were lacking. That was probably the biggest thing that they were lacking last year. It wasn't that they weren't a good team. They just weren't consistent down the stretch. So I would say, yeah, Georgia Southern seems to be a surprise team in the East. I'm not sure Georgia State finishes at the bottom either. I'm not sure who I would put at the bottom, but there's something about that Georgia State team that I felt today. Just they were loose, in a good way. So Georgia State could surprise. They did their very low expectations coming in. On the West side, I really think Arkansas State is the surprise team.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how much of a surprise. I would say with what's on the screen here at 4, it wouldn't surprise me whatsoever if they're not 2, maybe even 1. And it's solely because of a kid named Jalen Rayner, who is from the state of North Carolina, of all places, but just was named the best collegiate quarterback at the Manning Passing Academy this summer. So not a
There's a lot of big times named. There was a big time name. I know Dylan Gabriel was there.
Yep.
Jackson Dart, I think, was there. I mean, there were some guys that were out there.
Yeah.
We already talked about food. That's what I love. You're in New Orleans. I will tell you, do you like oysters?
Me, no. I'm not you're going to hate this part. I'm not a seafood guy. So I'm in New Orleans. I'm not even a seafood. So I love the gumbo stuff. But
that's a stab in the heart. I was going to say you gotta go to Felix's, not Acme Oyster. Felix is the best place to go. There's always some good boudin there.
Oh, I love boudin.
You get some boudin. You got to get a hand grenade or a hurricane or something walking down Bourbon Street. I remember being there in 2014 covering the Sugar Bowl for the Oklahoma-Alabama Sugar Bowl, and just being amazed at being in New Orleans for New Year's Eve and seeing that kind of thing. But we talked about food on my show tonight. I'm doing a segment, my Give 'em a Sixer top 6 all-time football movies. What are your top 3 football movies for you all time? And there's no prerequisite. It has to be about you. If you like The Longest Yard, that's what you like. But what are your top 3 favorite college football movies of all time?
I'm going to go number 1 for me is pretty easy with Remember the Titans. I think it's got something for everybody. It's got the rewatchability. That's a big thing with me. Yeah, I love Varsity Blues for it felt like more real than a lot of the other ones you watch.
That's a pretty point.
Man, top 3 is tough, but I'll just talk about the ones that, like I said, the rewatchability factor for me. Which ones do I want to see again? Which one are, when they come on the screen, I just don't turn away from? So Remember the Titans and Varsity Blues, those are the top 2 for me pretty easily. And then, man, because of the comedy aspect, I actually really like that remake of The Longest Yard. I think they did the first one justice. And again, just the comedy aspect that they really pulled off well without ruining the first one.
Sure.
The first one's good, but bringing it into the modern age and everything, I probably, again, rewatchability factor. Maybe it's not the best quality one, but again, I would keep it on if it's on the screen. So those are probably my top 3.
Dominic Ambrose says, Remember the Titans, Any Given Sunday, and The Replacements.
Ooh, The Replacements.
It's Shane Falco, man. Footsteps Falco. I mean, there's so many good ones. Like I'm pretty confident when I go to making a list like this, right? And I'm like, hey, I'm just going to make this. I know, but there were so many.
Yes.
And so many that for different reasons, kind of like you said, the rewatchability, there's so many that being a huge football fan that I loved. Then there were some that was kind of like, and I'll say this. And I know it's going to piss some people off. I left Brian's Song out of it. Now, Brian's Song is a great movie. I get it, Brian Piccolo, and get not a lot of football in it. It was more of a life story for me. Yeah. I know a lot of people put Brian's Song up there. You had to deal with the tragedy, and I get it, but I had to leave that one out. But there's some other good ones in there. I mean, like the classic Nick Nolte, North Dallas 40. I mean, think about those old days. Let's see. He says Zangus is not a football movie per se, but the game sequences and The Last Boy Scout were well filmed. That was a good movie until the guy shot himself on the field. Till he messed himself up. But Dominic, man, I appreciate you coming on, taking time out in New Orleans. Like I said, it's always fun. Where do they have y'all staying at?
Well, I'm actually like a hotel or two down the road. Because I'm here for both business and my full-time job. So,
Sure.
But they are at the Marriott Warehouse Arts District.
Yep, I know that's that over by that bowling alley and everything.
Yeah, it's right across from one of the convention center kind of things, like right across from the river, essentially. It's a big parking lot. You can almost see it out the
Billy
window.
Blank.
They actually did a lot of things for the Sugar Bowl back in the day in this facility. It's if people have questions about the expectation when you go to a group of 5 or smaller conference, I'm telling you, the Sun Belt just hit this out of the park. The way it's set up, the way it was structured, the way everything ran, top notch quality. Nothing was behind. There's nobody slouching around doing stuff. I mean, it was very, very well done today.
I mean, the pictures and stuff look great. But Dominic, tell everybody where they can follow the Sunbelt Syndicate. I see you're wearing the Sunbelt Syndicate shirt. You've got swag and merch for people to purchase. Tell everybody where they can follow you guys and get some of that swag.
Absolutely. So Sunbelt Syndicate across just about every social platform. On Twitter, you have to eliminate the E, or X, I guess we're calling it now. You have to eliminate the E because it was a little too long, but Sunbelt Syndicate everywhere else. Yeah, and if you go to collegefootballdogs.com, go to that store link. We've got polos, we've got T-shirts, and probably some more stuff down the line, but that's what we're getting started with, and it is top quality stuff. So thanks to Presence Apparel, who's officially supplying College Football Dogs apparel. Looks very nice. I was easy to show it off today with everybody walking around.
You look good out there. The pictures I saw on the interwebs, man, you were styling out there. But yeah, now I'll tell, like I told Dominic Ambrose, get as many media guides as you can. Get one from each team, just because I got boxes. Just they're cool to have. Yeah. You're gonna save the lanyard just because it's cool. Like I have my UFL one hanging up in the car right now when I was covering the Birmingham Stallions, but I've got a bag of all my Big 12 media days, all the bowl games, the Big 12 championship, like all those. I have a big bag of those, and just to go back and think about some of the places that I got to go and to experience. So media days is always fun, even though, and I know the kids they do a good job because they get asked the same question by everybody. Yep. And even, Georgia State, who's picked to finish last, you're not going to ask, hey, how do you think your season's going to be? Oh, we're going to suck ass. They're like, no, we hope to compete for a championship. It's a lot of that, but hopefully now with NIL and people trying to have their brand, it's going to help the coaches, help the players be a little more personable, to have a little bit more than just, coach speak answers.
Yeah. And I'll give Georgia State, since you mentioned them, full credit. If I could go out on this town specifically with any 2 players on the podium today, it was those 2 guys. They had personality and just awesome guys to talk to. We're definitely going to have them on the show at some point. Georgia State's got some top quality guys on there, and those 2 linebackers are coming, and they're going to throw a party in the backfield, as they mentioned it today.
Man, that's awesome. I really look forward to the start of college football season, man. And Dominic, I appreciate you taking the time coming out, and we're going to take a time out. Again, there's 215 people in here right now watching this broadcast. So 17. I want to say thank you guys. If you're in here, take the time, hit that little like button. Whatever platform you're on, if you're not following the Sports Bites podcast, hit that follow button. Let's get those subscriptions built up. I'm going to have some content that I'm doing during the regular season, that I'm trying to get up to where you have to have a membership to get some of this, whether it be, wagering predictions. I like to put a little money on some games, and I've had a bookie tell me I couldn't play with him no more. So I have some track record behind there. But Just like, follow, subscribe. If you're wanting some really good information about college football, follow the College Football Dogs, because no matter who you're a fan of, we have somebody covering the team, the conference, whatever you like. Somebody at the College Football Dogs is covering it. NFL, we've got great podcasts. Obviously, Dominic, you guys doing the Sun Belt Syndicate. We've got Paul Talks Patriots, Football Frame of Mind, the Golden Boot, College Villains. Andrew was at SoCon Conference today, seeing Furman and Samford and all those guys. So whatever you like, the College Football Dogs have you taken care of. We've got some great writers, some great content coming out. Just stay tuned. But Dominic, enjoy your time down in New Orleans, man.
All right, you enjoy over there in England.
Oh, believe me, I'm gonna have a ball. I'm gonna have a ball. That's Dominic Cristetto from the Sun Belt Syndicate, guys. It's a lot of fun. I love going to media days, being a part of everything that starts the football season. And it like I said, now it's interesting with how NIL is, with how, you talk about Ishmati, an All-American running back, staying at Texas State. G.J. Kinney, everybody knows the name. Now he's the coach, but you're able to keep talent, because that's the fear of a lot of these Group of 5 coaches. Once you have a great year, if you're a player, especially a skill player, a defensive lineman, you don't think Ishmati wasn't called by Georgia, Florida State? I mean, I'm sure Texas reached out to Ishmati. So for them to keep it, it's going to be that power struggle. That's why I foresee a split, kind of like a Division I, Division II almost, but we'll see. That Group of 5 is going to be a lot of fun to watch. We're going to take a quick time out. I'm going to see if I can get a hold of Mike Golick, who is covering Big Ten Media Day for us as well. But again, stay tuned right here on the Dogs Football, on the Dog TV network. We're going to keep you entertained, I promise.
What brings you in today?
A lot of rage.
Have you considered the Knicks? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend you.
I don't want to care. You really kind of opened my eyes on this.
Spike the ball.
You know, in therapy, we often talk about what we can and can't control. Did your favorite team get eliminated from the playoff chase in week 1? Did your star player get injured before the season? Do you still have 0 wins in fantasy? Then you need to talk to me, the sports therapist.
I am a New England Patriots fan.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
It used to be, who are the Patriots playing in the Super Bowl? Now it's, will the Patriots win next week?
Exactly.
Probably not.
I'm the victim of a $500 million team where that's given me a $0 payoff. This is the Mets.
And I'll remind you that everything you say here is confidential. Do you find yourself thinking about other baseball teams?
Think about the Astros. I'm going to move to Houston.
I grew up as a Met fan. Maybe we try Rutgers football. Maybe we just play racquetball at the gym. Friends would definitely be better than Rutgers football, huh? The Cowboys are more often a source of misery in your life.
You know what helps Cowboys Nation mental health? Rings.
Maybe the Cowboys will never win a ring in your lifetime. Whose fault do you think it is that the Vikings are not performing so well?
I will say the third game, Kirk Cousins, spike the ball. Get a good playoff. Don't throw an interception with the last play of the game.
What is it you'd like to talk about today?
The Jets.
How have you been coping?
A lot of crying.
But if there's a way to engage with the New York Jets without bringing heartbreak on yourself, then I think that could be healthy.
I haven't even smiled this much in 2 weeks, Doc. The Commanders are losing.
Do you think that all of that anger will come exploding out of you?
It might.
There was quite a bit of rage in that, wasn't there? Maybe there's some deep breathing exercises we can do. We're going to breathe in Terry McLaurin, and we're going to breathe out Terry McLaurin. And we're going to breathe in Ron Rivera, and we're not going to let him get us upset.
There was a lot of hype around Kenny Pickett this year for the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's just not panning out the way I thought.
And so what do you do in those moments? Do you grab your terrible towel and do you sort of give yourself a rub down, or?
I actually forgot my terrible towel that day.
It seems that you are not holding up your end of the bargain.
I feel like Taylor Swift has just taken over the Kansas City Chiefs football program.
If anything, he missed that first week, and then he started dating Taylor. He was back on the field.
You know what? Now that you think about it, Doc, she might be the good luck charm. I might download her music now.
Well, that's our time.
Thank you.
This is the first time in my life that I've actually felt anything other than deep depression.
Welcome back, everybody. Chris Joseph in the Sports Bites podcast. Trying to get a hold of Mike Golick to try to get him on. He's making his way to Indianapolis to talk a little Big Ten. But while we talk about Big Ten, I can actually bring up media days is going on there. I think with the Big Ten, there's a lot of stuff you could talk about in the Big Ten. A lot of stuff. And so if you look at their preseason media poll, right? Their preseason media poll came out as far as their projected order of finish for the Big Ten. I'm letting this load up so I can pop it in here. There we go. Here's the Big Ten list. The preseason poll. Ohio State, number one. I'm not surprised at that. I think this is a huge make or break year for Ryan Day. If Ryan Day does not get it done, it could be bad news. I still think they make the playoffs, but again, I don't see if he's not successful. If he loses to Michigan again, doesn't win a national championship with all the money that they've spent, I think it's a big time problem for Ryan Day and the Ohio State Buckeyes. It's not going to be pretty. Let's see, overcrowded, man. We're going to see some good games. Cody, you're right, man. You're right. There's going to be some great games. Number 2, Oregon. Day is natty or bust. That's what he said. I agree. I think he's natty or bust at Ohio State this year. Oregon comes in number 2. Dan Lanning, Dylan Gabriel. What they have, I think they're going to be. For me, I think they're a little bit better suited than USC or UCLA. Getting into the Big Ten, it's cold in Oregon. They play in some bad. Oregon State. He says Oregon State or Oregon and Ohio State for the Big Ten. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a lot of fun. Number 3, Penn State. And again, Drew Aller could be a really good quarterback this year. To me, they're kind of like Iowa. Penn State played some ranked teams, but really didn't do that well against them. So, don't know how good Penn State is going to be. It all depends on Drew Aller. Number 4, they got Michigan in there, the defending national champions. Obviously, Sharon Moore, former Oklahoma Sooner lineman, now the head coach. He took over when Harbaugh was gone for his penalties, but he's now there. You got a brand new quarterback, Orgy starting, and we'll see. We'll see. Edwards at running back is a beast. We'll see if they can produce the same. They do have one of the best defensive linemen in the game. So Michigan, that is still interesting to see them at 4 and their defending national champion coming in. But that's what losing a quarterback will do to you, right? Losing a quarterback will do that to you. Iowa at number 5. And I mentioned with Dominic Cressetto from Sunbelt Syndicate, and this is not to take shots at Iowa, Kirk Ferentz has to be like a professor at a university that has tenure and just can't be fired. I know he's a legend, but to me, Iowa was one of the biggest fraud teams in all of college football last year. Vandy, Chris, if you're out there, I know you bring up talking about Nico Iamaleava and how well he played against Iowa. He played exceptionally well. But let's also pull in those reins because Iowa played 3, their whole schedule, only 3 ranked opponents. If that is such a great defense, they would not have gotten beaten 93-0 in those 3 games. Sorry. To me, they're kind of that false bravado, if you want to say. USC coming in at 6. Wisconsin, Luke Fickell's got to get something done in Wisconsin, right? Bucky's got to get it going. Nebraska, it'll be interesting to see what Nebraska going to do. With Rule as the coach, now you bring in Dominic Raiola as quarterback. And again, it's one of those, is Nebraska a sleeping giant? Can they get on board with the NIL? Can they get on board with, with the fan base? Can they get everything going, and bring back the storied history of Nebraska? I mean, I talk about time as a kid. I remember growing up in Oklahoma, and Thanksgiving weekend was Oklahoma, Nebraska, Keith Jackson, Dr. Tom Osborne, Barry Switzer going head-to-head. That was growing up. Nebraska has fallen on hard times. There's a lot of people who think Oklahoma is going to go that way in the SEC. I don't know if it's going to be that bad. But Nebraska, Rutgers. Here's what's crazy. Look at Rutgers. ahead of Washington, who was in the national championship game last year, guys. Washington coming in as 10th. Rutgers in at number 9. I hope Nebraska's back. College football needs it. Cody, I think you're right. As much as I hate when Texas is good, but Texas, Oklahoma, I know a lot of people hate Notre Dame, Michigan, like all those teams. You have to. I mean, it's better. It's better. Cody also said USC is overrated. We'll see. I don't know. I know I joke about Lincoln Riley all the time and how he left Oklahoma. I've been very surprised at ESPN and the SEC network's Paul Feinbaum with how he's kind of got this angle where he's just going after Lincoln Riley the whole time. Now, if you want to go after him for the way he cooks a brisket, I'm all for that. But Feinbaum's getting a little, I don't know. I'm not a fan of Riley, but man, he's really laying it on thick. But number 11, Maryland, number 12, Minnesota, the Fighting Illini coming in at 13, Northwestern with no stadium, UCLA, Michigan State. Talk about another program that has fallen dramatically off. Michigan State has been in a college football playoff game. And now they're at 16th in the Big Ten Conference. Michigan State at 16, Indiana at 17, Purdue at 18. And just, you look, it's very top heavy. Very, very top heavy. Washington really intrigues me with the Arizona coach Fish going over to take you lose Penix Jr., you lose some of the guys that follow Kalen DeBoer to Alabama, but there's a team that was in the national championship game, and you're picked to finish 10th in the Big Ten. That's crazy to think that, though. AJ, Michigan State missing Thorne, obviously. AJ's a big Auburn fan. I told somebody today, I like Peyton Thorne, but Peyton Thorne throws a football like stormtroopers shoot at Luke and Leia. Just not good. One positive for USC, they finally have a good DC. He needs it. Lincoln needs it. They try to tell him, and what's weird is Alex Grinch, when he was at Washington State, made Washington State a viable defense, a top 25 defense. And so you think coming in with, a little bit better recruiting pool at Oklahoma, he was going to be able to, but no. Alex Grinch was not it. Washington lost a lot, but they can bounce back if they use Will Rogers properly. I thought Ohio State had Will Rogers. Am I wrong? I know Ohio State, they're replacing their quarterback. Oregon's got Dylan Gabriel. Dylan Gabriel is an interesting watch this year with where he is on the all-time passing yards, everything like that. All the records he's close to breaking. It's really interesting. Well, you get Michigan at 4. No. This is not me, Zangief. I'm just reporting what at media day, what the media preseason poll, what they voted. I think Oregon is going to be really good. I think Oregon is going to compete for it. Now, Michigan, for me, Michigan's got a lot to answer. Orgy coming in at quarterback. It's still weird just saying that name. But their new quarterback, oh, that's right. Yeah. He said the former Mississippi State quarterback. You're thinking Will Howard. Okay. Yeah. You're right. Michigan's got a lot to answer. J.J. McCarthy gone. You still have one of the best defensive linemen in the country. You've got one of the best running backs in the country. Blake Corum is gone. Are you going to be able to do some of the stuff that they did and run, 23 times in a row on players? Now, I don't know. What I think going forward, I don't think Penn State is that much better. Again, it depends on Drew Aller. I think Aller is a huge key for this Penn State team that I think they need a signature win. They need a signature win to keep any kind of momentum going forward. Iowa is overrated to me. I'm still Rutgers at number 9. Rutgers at number 9. Man, trying to get all this loaded up because you know what's next, guys. It's my Give 'em a Sixer top 6, right? In this week's episode, I'm doing my top 6 football movies of all time. And, I try to stay away from copyright infringement stuff. I was going to play clips. Then I was like, no, I don't want to play a clip. And then, you get banged for copyright. But I've got some pictures, some artwork of some of my top 6. And like I said, when you make these polls, when you make these projections or whatever, I mean, somebody's going to get mad. Somebody's not going to be, really happy about that. Let me see. Where's trying to get these pulled up. I apologize. There's my number 4. Trying to get 3 in here, 3, 2, and 1. I want to see. You see, I see USC lower than 6, depending on the schedule. They very well could be. They very well could be. A lot depends on defense for them. Can they play defense? Now, I will tell you this. I am looking forward to the day when USC has to travel to Rutgers for an 11 a.m. kickoff in November. That is going to be the welcome to the Big Ten moment. When you got to go, all the way there before you can actually play a game. But it is going to my brand here. Got my little video I'm going to play. And here we go.
We're gonna count it down real quick. Top 6 in sports bites mix. What's popping in your town? We're bringing it all around. Give 'em a sixer, top 6er. You know we're here to fix ya. Best of the best, ain't no mess. Time to impress.
All right, guys, here it is. My Give 'em a Sixer top 6 football movies of all time. Now, I know this list is going to upset some people. People are going to tell me I'm wrong, but I want you to throw in the chat. What are your top football movies? And for whatever reason, like I told Dominic, there's no prerequisite. It can only be if you like a football movie, you like a football movie. My number 6, Varsity Blues. Tweeter, Billy Bob, Allie Larder and the whipped cream bikini. I mean, it's classic, great football. It really talked a lot. I got to cover Texas high school football when I was covering recruiting, and it's like that. It's like that. I mean, man, I love the movie. When they go and find their teacher is an exotic. It's a 10. It's a 10. Tweeter, he steals a cop car, goes to jail. I mean, but obviously, it Varsity Blues, love Varsity Blues. Hit the 10. I give it a 10. That's right. Oh, Billy Bob. He said it was erotic. It was topical. I'm still around. I give it a 10. Oh, Billy Bob. All right, my number 5, Any Given Sunday. Now, I wanted to play that Pacino speech. You fight for those inches in front of you. The hardest. It was such a great speech. But I love the movie because of the football. Willie Beeman, I thought was a great. Lawrence Taylor, Shark. I mean, it was kind of behind the scenes. Taking the needles, where LL Cool J's character, trying to make sure that he had all his yards, to get his payday, his chip and dip commercials, as they said. Cody said, number 6 draft day. Great movie. Facing the Giants. I forgot about that. That's what made this list so hard. Number 5, Rudy. Number 4, Varsity Blues. Number 3, Friday Night Lights. Number 2, Any Given Sunday. Number 1, Waterboy. Waterboy is a great movie. Waterboy is you can't go wrong. I don't want your life. Kilmer, he enjoys bagging on him like he used to do you. So yeah, they really got into it. Any Given Sunday, really liked the movie. Really liked the movie. Yeah, we tear ourselves. Everyone rounds to pieces for that 1 inch. Such a great speech. That, and when Jamie Foxx was talking to Pacino and he was like, He's like, what do you mean? I'm going to stay who I am, Willie Beeman. Till if you trade me, waive me, whatever it is you're going to do to me. But I didn't say nothing. You pretend you're playing with your mama throwing the dinner bell. All right, my number 4. It's like Novocaine. Give it time to work. I don't want them to gain another yard tonight. A great movie, true movie. You know, I thought, it also showed ladies that Ryan Gosling is a liability on the outside. He couldn't cover. But man, an absolute fantastic movie. Love Remember the Titans. And that's why I say, when you start breaking them down, there's so many good movies. So many good movies. How'd I forget Remember the Titans? Yeah. When I turn on the invisible juice, I'm gone. That's right. How'd I forget Remember the Titans? Next one, number 3, Friday Night Lights, the movie. If you want to win, put Booby in. Oh, Booby Miles. And growing up in that time, I remember reading the book, but I heard about Permian when I was in Oklahoma. And Midland Lee was their biggest rival, and Mojo and everything. Like that movie. And here's what's crazy. As good as Permian was, that Dallas Carter team was amazing. But an absolute fantastic movie. Friday Night Lights. I think it was awesome. True story. One of my customers when I worked for the post office got me a poster signed by the Titans coach Boone. That's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome. Coach Boone, man, a legend. Here's my number 2. Necessary Roughness. I can watch Necessary Roughness whenever. You bring in Scott Bakula, who ends up dating a professor who was a cheerleader when they were in high school. Sinbad was a professor. Now he's playing football. Kathy Ireland kicking field goals. You got Rob Schneider up in the booth. Sergeant Fumbleita Wilkinson, it's crazy. I love Straight Arrow Gennaro. The one was a Popke. They're like, hey, show him the arm. And he flexed like, no, you idiot. No. Throw the ball. Necessary Roughness. Yep. Agile, mobile, hostile. You're right. Absolutely. Now, are you ready? Here's my number 1. The Program. Kane is able. Joe Kane. Now, I remember when this came out and watching it, it kind of was loosely based on Florida State, if I'm correct. But I absolutely, I love this movie. Mack at linebacker he's talking crap to everybody. Now, I know they had to take the scene out to where Kane was laying in the street and reading the Sports Illustrated article about himself. I think somebody, high school kids tried to emulate that, and one got killed. It may be an old wives' tale. I don't know. But The Program, to me, it was amazing. Latimer getting in trouble for the steroids, I enjoyed everything. And that because they kept some of the real football teams in it. Like they played Iowa, they played Mississippi State, and you saw some of that. It was a great movie. Absolutely great movie. And I think today, you think about, some of the guys who are on the watch list for the Heisman who, just want to go play football, and they're trying to do all the media for them and stuff. So that was before Twitter, TikTok, social media, everything like that. But that's my list. Varsity Blues at 6, Any Given Sunday at 5, Remember the Titans at 4, Friday Night Lights at 3, Necessary Roughness at 2, and The Program at 1. So that is my list. And guys, I'm going to tell you, I've had a blast this season. I started this season just recording audio. My wife encouraged me to get on here and start talking about football, getting some of the connections and stuff that I have still, having some guests on. And we're going to have more guests coming up. Taylor Arends, who's going to be our game day special, she's going to be on right before the season starts. I have guys from Tennessee, from all over there. Tom Helmer, Hooked on Helmets, he's going to be coming on. He's the Eastern Michigan play-by-play guy. You wouldn't recognize Ron Lester. Oh, really? He you come in there and there's like for sale signs in your yard and stuff like that. That's how high school football was out there. But it has been an amazing year. It's been an amazing journey. I want to thank Hunter and Colin, the guys who run the College Football Dogs, for believing in me, for giving me an opportunity to rekindle this passion, rekindle this dream of mine. And I don't say it just to say it, but pay attention to the College Football Dogs. We have some fantastic writers. We have fantastic graphic design people. We have fantastic podcasts. And like I was talking with Dominic, no matter what team you like, the College Football Dogs has you covered. If you're a college fan, no matter what conference, no matter what team, we got you covered. Podcasts, same thing. You know, I talk about all the sports and food. Golden Boot does a great job with their broadcast, except when Vandy Chris starts talking about Vanderbilt the whole day. Just kidding, Vandy, love you. But it's a great organization, and where we've come since I haven't even been with the company for the whole year, but where we've come since I've been with the company has been phenomenal. We're doing it right. We have a partnership with the Maxwell Award, so there's going to be some content coming that I can't talk about now, but there's some content coming with the Maxwell Award that you're going to want to pay attention to the College Football Dogs because of that. And also, guys like Dominic, couldn't get a hold of Golick, but both Dominics are out in, he said he's getting checked in the hotel. I got to get to bed, guys. That's good. He's getting checked into the hotel, but I'll have him on before the start of the season, and we'll talk Big Ten football. But for those of you who participate, for those of you who engage in the chat, thank you. 281 people in here right now. 281 people. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the follow button on all socials. You see everything scrolling down on the bottom. Like and follow, man. We're trying to get this thing off the ground and going. But thank you. I'm taking a little hiatus. Tonight's my last show until the week of the start of this. Well, it's actually the Monday after the Florida State-Georgia Tech game. I'll get to talk about that. I fly back in from London that Friday, the 23rd. I will go on Monday as a 7 o'clock show leading into the Golden Boot podcast. And we're both going to be doing, just like a network. We're going to have that covered. But I'm excited to go to London. I get it's me and my wife's anniversary. I'm so excited about going and just experiencing. We rented a car. We're going to drive around the English countryside, see if I can get roundabouts right. I don't know, but we're going to do it. I'm going to eat a ton of fish and chips. I'm eating Scotch eggs. I hope I can find a cold beer because I know they don't like cold beer over there. They like room temperature beer. But man, it's great show, good sir. Can't wait. Man, I appreciate it, Zangief Productions. I appreciate it. I try to put my best foot forward whenever we're doing this, and that's why I really like the College Football Dogs. There are some great people involved, and we're putting out a really good product. And we're trying to bring the legitimacy and everything to what we do. And we hope to become that place for everybody that's looking for good quality content. Because like I said, we had guys at Conference USA, at Sunbelt, at SoCon, at Big Ten, at ACC, had them at Big 12. I mean, Missouri Valley Conference. We had somebody on the Zoom call for their conference kickoff. We're all over the place, guys. collegefootballdogs.com. And don't forget, there's going to be some, you see that logo over there? Sports Bites. There's going to be some swag coming as well. Like Sunbelt Syndicate had a shirt. There's going to be a Sports Bites shirt. Now, I think I want to tell them to make a Sports Bites apron since I do a lot of food talk, out by the grill and everything like that. So it's going to be a lot of fun. But everybody, thank you. I appreciate you taking part of this season. It's been a lot of fun. It's only going to get bigger and better. Like I said, I started this thing with just a microphone and recording on a recording application on my computer. Now I've got it set up to where I've got cameras, I've got lights, stuff like that. And it's only going to get better, guys. It's only going to get better. But I want you guys enjoy the rest of your summer, because here in just a couple short weeks, it's going to kick off and it's going to be busy. College football is back, and it's the unofficial start of the season because, happy, thank you. I appreciate it. Happy anniversary. Yeah, we're setting the bar high for our 5-year anniversary, man. Going to London and everything like that. We're setting the bar real high. But guys, thank you. I enjoy everybody being a part of it. 284 people in here. Thank you guys. I hope you guys enjoy the content that we're putting out. I hope you're enjoying the content that I'm putting out. And we will talk to you guys the start of college football season. And remember, as I always say here on the Sports Bites podcast, remember to always positively move forward, guys.
Thanks for joining us on this delicious journey through the world of sports and food on Sports Bites with your host, Chris Joseph. We hope you've enjoyed the game day stories and culinary adventures. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And if you've got any mouth-watering sports-related tales or favorite game day recipes, share them with us on social media. Until next time, remember, it's not just about the game. It's about the bites that make it unforgettable. Stay hungry for more Sports Bites.